Welcome to Focus on Albany. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is Joe Ritchie, and Joe and I are going to talk about the Norlite situation in Cohoes. So, Joe, since the last time we talked, what has changed?
Yeah, so actually, just today, just fresh off the press, the Times Union editorial board is essentially calling on Norlight to shut down because they cannot be a good neighbor. Um, they're saying if Norlight can be a good neighbor, then maybe they can change their opinion, but they see no evidence of Norlight changing their narrative. In the last couple of weeks, the mayor has rebuked Norlight's ad in the Times Union of being a good neighbor. Norlight cited that the residents are not being moved because of Norlight. That simply is not true. The only reason why the residents of Saratoga sites, including myself, are being moved is because of the dust coming from Norlight and the threat that they pose to our health. Um, and then in the beginning of the month, we were able to tell Norlight through the Cohoes Housing Authority that they will not be able to buy Saratoga sites because the housing authority put Saratoga sites up for sale. That's the public housing development right next to Norlight. Um, and they had two bidders, either the city of Cohoes they could have gone with, or Norlight. And the board ultimately voted for the city of Cohoes to purchase this land. So now that goes to a vote of the Cohoes Common Council, where we anticipate this being passed quite easily. So we were able to give Norlight a I won't say it on the radio, but we were able to tell them no about getting my childhood home, which felt really great. And Lights Out Norlight was able to rally the community on this issue and get almost record attendance to these kinds of meetings. And now we're just waiting on their Title V permit application, which they've just resubmitted. So now I'm waiting from the state to get that application just to read it.
So, let me ask you this. You said that that Norlite put an advertisement in the Times Union, right? So that costs money. They gave the Times Union some money, and in the process, instead of the Times Union embracing them, they said that this is not a good deal. I find that totally amazing that a company who would give money to the newspaper would, kind of be against them. So, let's say Norlight does shut down. What does that mean?
Yeah. So first, I want to address your comment. I think that it is, crazy in the fact that yes, they've given them probably a good sized amount of money for their ad, and they just said, you know what, you guys aren't the best either. Um, I do wish the Times Union did a little bit more fact checking when they did put their ad up there, because I just know from uh, a letter to the editor that I put in, I had one sentence that wasn't factually correct, and I had to get it corrected I before it was published. It was ultimately published, but there are a lot of factually incorrect things that Norlight put in their ad that I wish were just addressed before they had released it. Um, Now to the point of Norlight shutting down, um, Norlight employs, only about 70 people, which, probably would affect a couple hundred people income wise. But there are steps we can do to avoid people from just being jobless. We can transition them to different jobs throughout the capital region that are dealing with similar things in the similar industries. The Port of Albany has a ton of jobs right now with their renewable facility. In Malta, Global Foundries. I mean, there's so many things that we can do to transition these people's jobs into either cleaner jobs or stay in the industrial, sector, but not be as destructive as the Norlight facility is. And actually, I've raised this to Assembly Member McDonald, and we had a meeting over the summertime on how we can transition these jobs. And so far, he has not put forth a plan to really deal with this because I think the tide is coming. and I think this facility will shut down. I mean, we've never seen this before, where the Times Union is calling on them. The mayor hasn't directly said he wants them shut down, but you can read in between the lines about what he wants. Even though he does say he does not want them shut down, the things he's asking for will cause them to shut down. So we have to really figure out, what are we going to do with these people's jobs? Because these are hardworking New Yorkers. At the end of the day, they need job assurance. They have families to provide for.
Mhm.
So let's see if we can build that plan for them.
So over the years, as you were growing up, you said that you were raised in Cohoes, right?
Yep.
So over the years, has the Times Union written any editorials that were now kind of not, that did not put Norlight in a good light, or have they been favorable towards Norlight over the years?
Yeah, so I would say I'm not sure about favorable. I just think that the whole Norlight issue has been ignored generally for the past 50 years. And because my organization, Lights Out Norlight, was able to kind of unearth a lot of the facts that are happening on the site at Norlight, what's happening at Saratoga sites and in Cohoes, and ultimately the entire capital region. I kind of just said, wait a minute, this is happening in our backyard, in our community. So I think, unfortunately, Norlight has done a fantastic job of covering up what they've done for the past 50, 60 years. And now here we are, and we've kind of put them all out on the table, and they continue to lie. They continue to do wrong for the community. They continue the dust, even though they have 30 more days to get a plan together for the dust mitigation. So we have to see what happens. But ultimately, the fate of Norlight is in the state's hand right now. And I think the state has to do good for the community and shut this plant down.
Okay, so if it is shut down, what steps will be taken to do so?
Well, I don't want to I don't want to put out my show my hand, but there's a
Right?
lot of things that can happen, that the state can do. I mean, the state right now is looking at Norlight's Title V permits. The Attorney General's office is investigating Norlight. Um, there's this class action lawsuit going on right now. There are so many things that are happening to Norlight that never happened to them before. And we just need our local officials to stand up with the residents of Cohoes, which they have been, but they need to go further and call on this facility to shut down, because guess what? They keep saying, oh, Norlight can be a good neighbor. Let's give them a chance. Let's give them a chance. How many chances are we going to give this facility after all these years? Um, I found letters to the DEC from the 1990s complaining about dust on the playground equipment and everything else. And people like McDonald were there when these things were being said. They're
Mm-hmm.
not ignorant to these facts.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to really change the narrative of what they've been saying. The mayor is on a good path right now. So we just got to get everyone just to say, you know what, let's get this burden out of our city, and let's do something different with this land, because we can do something transformative with the new land from Saratoga sites, and hopefully from the new land from Norlight. There's a lot of things that could happen, but we have to do it together, and not really away from each other, because this is a community effort for sure.
So before there was a groundswell to shut the plant down, and you would talk to elected officials, were they dismissive for you? To you? Did they listen? What was their reaction?
Yeah, so I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag, really. I would say, we, someone really wise told me, people will never do what we say, but when we're starting to lead, they'll start following us. And from day one, we've been calling on this facility to shut down. And from our investigations, we were able to get an attorney general probe into their dust, and we were able to get the mayor to say, okay, let's move these residents. because residents for decades have been asking different mayors of different generations to get them the heck out of there. And this one finally listened to us, which is
Uh-huh.
awesome. Um, like I said, from the mayor, we've gotten a lot more support from our assembly member and our state senators. We've gotten a lot more support from. Was it dismissive in the beginning? Um, no, I don't think so. I think they did a lot of with the new laws with the PFAS incineration, because that's really what I think started this whole movement, was when the Sierra Club found out about their illegal incineration of PFAS. Um, but they could be doing a lot more now, of course. And we just need them to do more for us. And we need them to be our champions that we elect them to be. And I think actually the only people that are probably were very dismissive was the state of New York, especially under the Cuomo administration, and still somewhat now under the Hochul administration. But we're hopeful that, the new administration will push the DEC to do more for us, because that's what we need.
So why was the Cuomo administration a little hostile towards you? What was you why do you think that happened?
Well, I just think, I mean, obviously, from all the drama that has occurred in the last year with the Cuomo administration, I just think it's the pattern of how they have dealt with people that were kind of, I don't know, insubordinate or whatever you want to call it, against their administration. A lot of people who I work with have been critical of the Cuomo administration, and once you voice your opinion out, you kind of get um, not treated well. And you know what? Let's be honest. During the Cuomo administration, as much as we like to paint New York being as green as it is, we did some really bad, terrible things in the Cuomo administration, um, including ignoring the residents at Saratoga sites for forever. So, you know, I'll just leave it as that. I've had some very unpleasant experiences with some officials in the administration and now that are left over. So I'm hoping to amend those relationships and go on the right foot forward for myself and for the city that I live in.
But there were governors before Cuomo that probably knew the problem.
Yeah.
Um, but the governors before Cuomo who knew the problem, they didn't really do anything about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can be fact checked, and I would be really glad to be fact checked. But from my memory, nothing until now. Nothing has really happened with the residents or anything with Norlight. The one thing that did happen was that the state ended up putting a monitor at Norlight, but that was kind of useless because my group was able to get him fired from that position
Hmm.
because of how negligible he was. Um, so, I like I said before, I think it was because Norlight was very brilliant in the fact that they were able to kind of put their facility in this cloud of uncertainty. And people kind of knew what was going on, but they didn't know for sure. But now they do. You can go online and look up anything about Norlight, and you can find out any question you want now because of the work that we've been doing and from the help from our officials as well.
So how many people are in your group? And did you lead it? Did you were you the one that initiated the whole thing?
Yeah. So no, I mean, I like to take the more humble approach, and I don't think it's just me. I think it's the people who live at Saratoga sites, it's Cohoes, it's the area. I mean, we have a solid group of probably 50 involved people, and then maybe hundreds, if not 1,000, people who are just who know what's happening through our updates and through our emails, um, if not more. So, I was not the one to first start Lights Out Norlight. It was started, I believe, a year and a half before I got involved. But as someone who's lived there my whole life, I felt it was important to take this issue as a um, as a important item to work on for the community, because that's what I feel like is the most important thing going on right now. And it's kind of shaped my academic career and what I want to do in my professional life. So I kind of look at Norlight as a blessing. I've been able to meet a lot of great people,
Hmm.
and I'm excited to get this facility shut down.
So, has there ever been another facility in the state of New York through community activism that has been shut down, or is this the first of its kind?
Yeah, so we can look right in our backyards and look at the Albany Answers plant. That was a horrible facility, burning, I believe, trash in downtown Albany near the Capitol,
Hmm.
and it affected a lot of low-income neighborhoods and predominantly, Black and minority neighborhoods. And many of those people who I know today who lived there when they were children have very rare disorders, and it's a shame. But they were able to get shut down through community activism, and it was great. And that only actually happened because the soot from the Answers plant ended up on the governor's mansion or at the Capitol when the governor was taking a walk, and he was like, "What the heck is this?" So it's kind of unfortunate. That was kind of that's the legend I hear, but I
Hmm.
know there was a ton of grassroots activism. And more recently, of course, there have been facilities across the state. The dance scammer plant recently just had its Title V permit denied because of community activism. That's going through now a rebuttal process. So, it happens. It's not an anomaly. So we have to see what the state of New York will do for the residents of Cohoes.
So, how many branches does Norlade have?
Yeah, so Norlight is technically its single entity, but Norlight is a part of a multinational company called Trade.
Okay.
They're based in Spain, and they have facilities across the world, but they're not all called Norlight. They're all called like different things. And
Hmm.
if you go on their website, they kind of claim they're environmentally friendly. They help the circular economy, which kind of means reduce, reuse, recycle. So it's a load of crap, because Norlight's history that you can find on the DEC website, it needs to be updated for the last couple of years because there are even more environmental violations. It just proves that all to be a facade. It's not true. It's fake. It's greenwashing, and you know, people who are smart will realize that. So yeah, unfortunately, the fate of Cohoes residents are not being decided by people in the state, but they're being decided essentially by people thousands of miles away, and I'm sure really big houses.
Hmm. So, but that's good, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, what happens. I mean, we've seen, in the past couple of months, we saw the CEO of Trade B comment. We've been usually seeing the CEO of the US Trade B branch comment, but he's kind of said some silly things. So now I think they kind of said you can't speak anymore. So um, we'll see. I mean, they're just digging themselves a deeper hole every time they make a comment, and they have this really expensive communications firm, Behan Communications. That's who they work with. That's their lobbying firm, and they're doing an awful job. if, if I was able to get 40 residents on a call to deny them getting Saratoga sites, and they can't get it because they're paid, I don't know, a lot of money, I think we're doing a great job. So, you know, I think everything that Norlight does, they just dig themselves a deeper hole as they go. And I'm glad they're being held accountable by our officials now.
So it's still not a definite. I mean, somewhere down the line, the people, your neighbors, your friends and neighbors, it still has the threat of moving, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So last night there was a Cohoes Housing Authority board meeting, just a regular monthly meeting that they have. And they did an update on Saratoga sites and on their application to HUD, and they should be submitting by the end of March. Fingers crossed. Everything's been done now that needs to be done, and they should hear, within 60 days of submission of application. So by the summertime, we'll know where the residents will have to go, and we'll make sure that all the processes are done if they are indeed approved to move, because nothing's certain. The housing authority is fairly certain it will happen. In fact, they've now gotten approval from housing to stop moving residents into Saratoga sites because they intend to move them. So, it's a waiting game, unfortunately. And I kind of look at this whole situation as like a roller coaster, up and down, up and down, up and down. There's some very slow moments and there are some extremely fast moments like we're seeing now.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just kind of have to sit, wait, and do our best to react.
As you were growing up, and you've been subjected by all this stuff, your whole life. Um, from your perspective, how do the wheels of government work? Are they satisfactory?
Yeah, I mean, I think our activism and our advocacy has really done a lot to push all of this forward. And it certainly helps when we have a mayor that is willing to work with us. So, we've never seen such a supportive mayor before. Um, Now we're trying to kind of get our state officials on the same ball,
Mhm.
and our federal officials, frankly, it's been crickets from Tonko and Gillibrand and
Really?
Schumer. Yeah, it really has been crickets. I've spoken to people from their offices,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really never gone anywhere that I know. So, I would have liked to see more from them.
Hmm.
Um, but and I'm sure if you ask them, they'll say they're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Um, Things have been going on behind the scenes for 50 years. It's time to be a little bit more public and pronounced about these things. And HUD too. HUD has been kind of non-existent as well, and putting a lot of the fallback on the housing authority.
When you contact your federal officials, meaning Gillibrand and Tonko and Schumer and HUD, and you call them, what kind of a response do you get from them?
Well, I think out of all of those federal officials, the most responsive office has been Gillibrand's office. And I've had some really great meetings with their staff that actually I think are pretty incredible people. Um, but there hasn't been a lot of action personally from Gillibrand herself done. It's been more of like keeping them updated on what's going on. And
Mm-hmm.
there are stuff, I'm sure there are stuff they can do that their office can do that would be very supportive. And frankly, I've asked, Gillibrand grew up in the Troy area.
Right.
So why don't you get her over to Cohoes when she's in the Albany area and have her look at what's happening, and
Right.
that this federal housing development is going to be demolished. And it's kind of been crickets, unfortunately, on getting people like that there. It's very profound that this is happening. So, we need it to happen. And regarding Schumer and Tonko, it's just kind of been just emails and nothing really substantive from them. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not putting any blame on them. I'm just saying now's the time to get involved. If you want to be on the right side, then we'll be happy to stand with you.
So, which was built first, your complex that you live in, or Norlight?
Yeah, so Norlight was built first, but
Okay.
they were, and then Saratoga Sites was put there in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, a example of environmental classism. But Norlight was not incinerating hazardous waste when we were placed there. They were just like a regular facility. And now, in the 1990s or 80s, they began incinerating hazardous waste when the residents were there. So, and if you look on the DEC's website, that's where the environmental infractions begin in the 1990s.
Mhm.
So, kind of all ties together.
So if they're doing that, if they're doing this in Cohoes, then they've got to be doing this in other places too, right?
Yeah, I don't know, where else in the state that they incinerate hazardous waste. I've heard
Mhm.
maybe out in Buffalo, but I'm not sure. And I think that is also a low income neighborhood. So wherever they're doing this is not in a Loudonville, it's not in a Niskayuna, it's in a Cohoes, New York. It's in the Arbor Hill area of Albany. It's in areas where people are poor, and frankly, it's in areas where people are not white. And these are classic examples of racism and discrimination based on income, because you would not have this in an area where you have the McMansions and the pools and the nice cars and the nice school districts. You're going to have them in, you know, blue collar cities, and it's just not going to happen in those rich areas, unfortunately. So, you know, we have to change that. And I think we are seeing this, frankly, because of the Norlight situation. Many local officials are saying, gone are the days of public housing being next to a facility like Norlight. I clap to that because it's better now than ever. And we have to really keep pushing that narrative and keep saying that this facility really can't be in Saratoga sites, and it really can't be anywhere in our state because it doesn't go with our state's goals for the climate leadership or the community leadership and climate act, the CLCPA. Um, so we really have to be mindful of what our goals are as a state for climate change and what our goals are for these environmental justice zones that the city of New York has designated us to be.
So we're just about out of time, Joe. If somebody wants to, help in your organization or contact you or, do anything as far as being involved in this situation, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so you can look us up, Lights Out Norlight, on Google, and you can find our website. You can also look my name up, Joseph Ronaldo Ritchie, on Facebook, or jritchie518 on Twitter, and I'm on social media. And that's the best way to contact me and to get involved on this issue of Norlight. We meet, twice a month, biweekly, on Zoom, so you don't have to go anywhere. Um, and yeah, we'd be excited to have anyone that wants to join. Or if you just have any general questions about Norlight or what's going on, just give me a shout.
Thank you, Joe. You've been listening to Joe Ritchie, and I'm sure we will be talking again. This is Focus on Albany. If you like this show, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Good luck, Joe, and thank you everybody for listening and watching. Have a great day.